Hi, and welcome to Silent No Longer. I'm Misha, and I'm so glad you're here. The podcast is a safe, judgment free space for healing, hope, and honest conversation for anyone who's been through toxic or abusive relationships. I know firsthand how it feels to feel trapped, unheard, and unseen. I lived through years of toxic relationships, financial struggles, and spiritual battles, but through faith and healing, I found freedom. And my purpose now is to help others find the same. On this podcast, we'll share stories of resiliency, transformation, and faith. I'll share my own journey, and we'll also hear from guests who have walked similar paths. My goal is to remind you that you are not alone, that healing is possible, and that your past does not define your future. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to check out my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my story in depth. And if you feel ready, I offer one-on-one coaching to walk with you through your healing journey. And thank you for joining me today. I'm honored to be part of your journey, and I can't wait to walk through this season of healing, hope, and breakthrough with you. Welcome to Silent No Longer, where your past is a chapter and not the whole book. My guest Jamie has a powerful story of resiliency, transformation. Her journey began in her first abusive relationship at just 12 years old, a heartbreaking start that led to years of struggle, two marriages, and becoming a mother of three. But through it all, Jamie reached a point where she knew she needed to pause, step back, and focus on inner healing. In this episode, we'll talk about what that healing journey looked like for her, the process of rediscovering peace, learning to love herself again, and breaking free from cycles of pain that once defined her life. Thank you, Jamie, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Jamie, can you just start by telling us a little bit about your story?
So I'll just summarize and not go into complete detail. Pretty much, I grew up with parents that were constantly fighting, constantly breaking up, getting back together, a lot of alcohol abuse and just craziness. So I ended up meeting my first love, my first ex-husband when I was like 11 or 12. Started dating at 12. It immediately pretty much, was violent emotionally, physically. And I guess I just thought it was normal because of what I'd went through watching my parents. It was almost comfortable, if that makes sense. So I don't think that I really seen it at first. My family definitely did. So did my friends. But of course, I just wouldn't listen to anybody. But the abuse, it got so bad to where my parents ended up having to get a restraining order. I was 14 at the time, but it didn't work. I continued to sneak out and meet him, and I was just so in love, or so I thought. And then I ended up getting pregnant at 15, thinking I did it on purpose, thinking that it would save us, that it would just change everything, but it really made it worse. And eventually, it just continued. He was on drugs really badly, in and out of jail or prison pretty much his whole life. And I just kept going back. I look back now and I'm just like, what was I? Because I mean, I wasn't into drugs or anything like that. Like all that was, I didn't agree with that. But so that all continued, the cheating, drinking, abuse for several years. Just, I would leave and then I'd go back. I would leave, I'd go back. And my poor daughter at the time, I only had one child. But everything that she had to see, was not good, and I'm sure has left a lot of lasting scars that I'm still trying to make up for. But anyway, so I ended up finally leaving again. I met my second ex-husband in college. I had decided to go to college, which my first ex-husband was completely against. He didn't want me doing any of that. He just wanted me at home with the baby, just I don't know, just that's how he was. They were also like in a Pentecostal religion, and that played a part also, like not being able to cut my hair, not being able to wear jeans, no makeup, stuff like that I went through. But anyway, so I met my second ex-husband in college. I fell for him immediately, but I still was not healed at all from my previous relationship. And no one ever really talked about any of it, really, like mental health or that I needed time to heal. No one really talked to me about it. So I ended up getting with my second ex-husband, getting pregnant pretty much on purpose, which is just insane to say that now thinking back. Crazy. But I ended up getting freaked out when I got pregnant, left him, married my first husband, first love. But then, of course, that wasn't good. The drugs, the abuse, all of it just continued. So I ended up getting divorced from him and then ended up going back to my second husband when our son was like 4 months old. That was just insane in itself. I wasn't healed at all. I really had no business being in another relationship. I was so depressed and I just wanted to die, to be honest. I was the most miserable person ever, truly. So this just went on for years. I was in bed most of the time or in my room, severe anxiety all the time, severely depressed, not knowing where to turn. Felt like I was with someone at the time I didn't want to be with, but I knew that, well, my parents pushed it also. They would always tell me, you're going to lose your children if you don't stay with him. If you would go back to your ex husband, you will completely lose your children because we'll help him take those children, which I get it now. At the time, I hated him for it, but I understand now. But so I ended up, uh, just a horrible life, really just miserable. And then he ended up becoming a police officer, completely changed, honestly. He ended up having an affair for years and then ended up leaving us, which I don't really blame him for. I get it because I wasn't a good wife, I was not at all. But so he ended up leaving us. I was terrified, just scared, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Financially was the biggest. So I ended up getting a really good job, moving to Maryland for a time. My son went with me. My youngest stayed with her dad, and then my oldest stayed with my mom because it was her senior year. But I trusted him. I thought, eventually I'm just going to get up here, get on my feet. He knew that. And then I'm going to get Abby. That did not happen. He alienated Abby. I wasn't even able to talk to Abby on the phone most of the time. I couldn't see her. I ended up getting a charge. They tried getting me for stalking because I came back from Maryland because it was not working out, because I didn't have all my kids. And he wouldn't let me see her. So I showed up at their house. I ended up they charged me with stalking, which could have ruined my career. I was just trying to see my daughter. Thank God it just turned into disorderly conduct, but it was bad. Finally, though, everything just somehow came together. He ended up giving her back to me pretty much, thank God. I got my career and things just really started changing, shifting completely. Like my confidence grew. I didn't know that I could do anything on my own. I truly believed that I had to have a man, for everything. I don't know if it's how I was raised or what it was, but I think it's definitely generational, all of it. It's what my mom's mom did. It's what my mom did. My, grandma's mom. I mean, it's just what they did. And it just, thank God I got my relationship back with God and I just really started to heal, changed my outlook on everything, started taking accountability for things that were my fault, which I look back now and I truly believe that really the whole thing was my fault because of how I was being as a person, the thoughts I was having, the words I was speaking, just all of it. I just created it myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do understand what you're saying, but you also have to remember that the other person is accountable for their own actions too.
Right.
Everybody
You're
plays
right.
a part. I never want anybody to feel they have to blame themselves for everything that was going
Yes.
on, especially since you were going through a lot.
And maybe subconsciously, I still have so much guilt, especially with my second husband.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why I just take on all the blame, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, definitely don't blame yourself. Always tell people that I wasn't innocent in everything in our relationships that I was in the past, especially with the kids' dad. I mean, it was kinda what I remember because there's a lot of it I just don't remember anymore, which I feel is just kinda weird, but there was a lot of throwing and name calling, and it was pretty violent. We weren't really violent to each other, but the atmosphere was violent.
Exactly. Because I feel like that's how it was with my first husband too. Like he wasn't physically just beating the crap out of me all the time, it
Mhm.
was more like just constant chaos and fighting, and the words that he would say to me were horrible, and the cheating, all the other women and the drugs, and it was just, gosh, it was so abusive.
Yeah. It can be a lot, and I think a lot of people don't understand that relationships, when you talk about domestic abuse, isn't just hitting, physical.
Right.
You don't have to put your hands on people. It's the lies that add up, and
Yes.
with me, it was you just get to a point where you just can't handle it anymore, and you
Right.
start blowing up
Absolutely.
and feeding off from their energy, which is 2 people with the
Exactly.
same energy that's that hostile and just so much anger. I mean, it's gonna be a bad situation on both sides.
Definitely, and just imagine, like, we don't even think about it at the time, or really I didn't, not like I should have, but with what the kids are really seeing and experiencing and what lifelong effects this is gonna have on the kids.
Yeah, because when my kids were little, my second oldest, she would go to school, and as soon as she got home, she'd be so angry, and I called the school and I said, "Hey, how is she behaving at school?" And they said, "Oh, she's the sweetest kid ever, loves everybody." And I said, "Well, that's strange because at home, she's screaming and yelling and just violent. Her and her sister would fight so bad, so they would draw blood to each other. Hey, work it out yourselves." But when it started getting like that, I'm like, "Okay, there's a problem."
Right.
But I didn't realize it was from the atmosphere at home at the time.
Absolutely.
And growing up in the same type of atmosphere, I just thought it was normal, but it was just me, my brother and I, we didn't grow up together, so and it's just like you said, it's generational, and breaking
Right.
that generational bondage and curse, that's where it ends.
Yes, exactly, because if we don't, our kids, at least one of them, are
Mhm.
probably definitely gonna go through the same thing, for
Yeah,
sure.
and they might still if they don't understand.
Right,
And they carry it with them, and that's why it's
right.
important to talk to your kids, especially after you have broken all the relationships and start going through the healing. That's gonna be a process in itself, but you have to
I
let
agree.
them know, "Hey, I didn't realize this was wrong and this wasn't
Right.
normal," and you just continue to discuss with them. So, and just pray that they don't end up in the same cycle.
Exactly, no, and our parents didn't talk to us like that because,
Mm-mm,
again, just mental health stuff was not a thing back then.
it
Nobody
wasn't.
talked about all this.
No, because I used to be so angry that family knew what my life was like, but then maybe I think now that I'm older, maybe they didn't know the extent of it
Right,
and why somebody didn't come take me out of the environment, and I actually had an aunt tell me, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know, or I would have came and got you," and she said that she had so much other stuff, and I told her, I said, "Nobody knew, so don't blame yourself, because nobody really knows unless you were there living it, you didn't know."
right, exactly, and even if they do know, they're probably trying to almost lie to themselves in their mind because the truth is just so painful.
Yeah, and I didn't know to tell anybody, so
Right,
as a kid, you just think that it's normal growing up, so
right.
yes, definitely take time to heal after relationships, and I don't really think that that was anything that was really discussed growing up.
It wasn't. It was, I mean, still to this day, I'm going on being single for, like, 4 years, and I feel like everybody in my life, my family, even though they're okay with it, but they still act like something's wrong with me because I'm not dating and all that. But I knew that I had to take time to truly heal, which I'm still in the process of. It just
Mhm.
takes forever, I guess. But I would just end up right back in another relationship that I'm going to have to spend years healing from, and I'm just done. I don't want to do that anymore,
Well, you
you
should be
know?
very proud of yourself to know the difference
Right.
between a healthy relationship and a non-healthy relationship. That's a huge step, I believe, because it's so easy to go back to what we're familiar with and ignore all the red flags. And I don't even know if you really want to call them red flags, but just the same behavior that you had before. And since it's familiar, what do you do? Oh, it's nothing. Just ignore it, swipe it underneath
Yes.
the rug.
Make excuses.
Yes.
It's not as bad as you think it is, but yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. But in today's generation, there's just so much new to toxic behavior too.
I know.
You definitely have to learn who you are as a
Yes,
person, love yourself, know how to love yourself.
exactly.
Don't ignore your nervous system. So something I learned when I was going through my healing is your nervous system tells you when something's not right, and I didn't realize that.
Right.
It was just I don't know, I just thought it was anxiety, but it's not anxiety. Our body will tell us when something is wrong. So if you start feeling like a ton of anxiety or just feel like something's not right or always feeling anxious about every little tiny thing in the relationship, that relationship is not for you. That's your body
Right.
telling you, "Hey,
Something is
get away,
wrong.
get out. This isn't safe or this isn't right for you."
Right.
If you don't listen to that, it's very easy to get stuck back in that type of relationship again. It may be
Absolutely.
not the same, but it's still not right for you.
Right. And a lot of people, they stay, they're just terrified, especially the financial and also losing the children. When I went through what I went through with him being a cop, the court completely took his side. And I mean, honestly, he's pretty much allowed to do whatever he wanted. And I
Yeah.
guarantee that so many women go through that. And it's terrifying. It really is.
Mhm.
Because the power balance isn't, it's off.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kept me in my relationship so long was the kids because I wanted to make sure, um, they were around the right people.
Right. You're going to damage them by, divorcing and all that. You don't
Mhm.
want them to see that.
Yeah, because I thought that if we stayed together, I would have control over who they were around because I didn't want them to be influenced by, the wrong type of people. And I knew what he was like before we were together, and I didn't know if he was still, not gonna drink and not gonna do drugs and all that kinds of stuff because he did that stuff before we were together. But when we were together, he didn't. So I didn't know what his life was gonna be like after we split up. So that was my way of in my mind, protecting my kids. But it got to the point, like you said, when you were talking about your story, I just wanted to die. And I almost committed suicide just because I couldn't handle it anymore. And the thing that came to my mind was my kids finding me. And I couldn't do
Right.
that to them. So at that moment, I realized, okay, this isn't healthy for me and it's not healthy for them. And it just needs to end because it's not going to get better. It was just going to get worse because at that point, it was starting to get physically violent. And that was my breaking point in my mind, like, nobody should ever lay their hands on me. I don't wanna say I that physical, or emotional and psychological abuse is worse than physical abuse because I don't feel like I've ever really been physical where somebody's hitting you,
Right.
but it does a big toll on you.
Absolutely. It can kill your soul,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it definitely takes everything out of you, and having to build yourself up after that, it takes a lot of strength. So anybody who's been
Yes.
that low in a relationship and they came back fighting, like, be so proud of yourself.
Yes. And it's just so freeing almost. You're free. I don't know how to explain it, but just the sense of pride or just accomplishment in doing something yourself,
Mhm,
without depending on someone else. I never again, it traumatized me so badly, the financial part of it. I will make sure I never again will ever depend on anybody completely 100% financially. It was just way too traumatic. I think
mhm.
every woman should always be able to, or every person should always be able to take care of themselves just in case, something happens.
Yeah, I agree too, but I have a lot of financial trauma in my life, and I'm pretty sure I figured out, just a couple days ago where it stemmed from 'cause I've always wondered why I always have to have my own money or always have to be working. I liked staying home with the kids because I got to spend that time with them,
Right.
but as far as not having my money, it was so hard. But when I was a kid, my mom gave me a $100 bill for my birthday, and I gave it to one of her boyfriends in case we went to the store because I was maybe 3rd grade, so at 7 or 8, and that way I
Right.
wouldn't lose it. And we went to the store, and I was like, "Hey, I wanna spend my money," and he's like, "Oh, sorry, we can't do that today." And come to find out, he had stolen my money and spent it on drugs. So now I never let anybody hold on to my money or
Yes.
anything because I'm just so worried that they're just gonna spend it, and I worked so hard for that money, and it's just gonna be gone, and that's happened in both of my relationships.
So, like, almost this kinda changes the subject a little, but it's regarding
Mhm,
financial. It's almost kind of abusive too, like, when you get with someone that, like, doesn't work like a man and just, like, expects you to support them.
mhm.
That disgusts me so badly. I don't know how to explain it. It almost really feels abusive.
Abuse.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's all different types of
absolutely.
abuse and, domestic violence, and I didn't realize that until after my marriage, and I got looking into it. I was like, "Oh, goodness, I did not realize that the only thing that I knew was domestic violence was somebody physically hitting you or, something contact to your body." It's definitely not talked about enough.
No,
I
it's
honestly feel like it should be an educational thing in school because kids today start so young.
absolutely.
I
Yes. I
mean,
mean, look how
like your
long
story.
I was.
Yeah,
Like, my gosh, I was 12 years old,
yeah,
Like, that is a baby. And
and
yes, I guarantee so many teenagers are
I was, talking to somebody else on another podcast, and they had said that it's not a worry about a 12-year-old getting pregnant the first time, but it's them getting pregnant the second time, and, hearing kids today and how they are with relationships, I can totally see how it happens,
yes, same.
but it's just
Absolute like, my oldest, she went through a period to where she was struggling, and I feel like at that age but thank God, I always knew just from my own experience, I knew to just be very open with my kids and
mhm,
really talk with them and try not to freak out completely if they have sex or if they do something because I know that they're not going to come to me anymore if I freak out, or punish
yeah,
them or whatever. So I always knew that when my parents tried keeping me from my first love and got the restraining order for psychologically it made me want him more. It felt like it was weird. But I think that's what happens a lot of times.
and since it started with you when you were so young, were you afraid that your kids were gonna end up in relationships like that when they were young?
Absolutely, yes. I always just was terrified I was definitely getting paid back for what I put my parents through, Like, I just knew my karma was coming, but thank God, like, they ended up all making it without getting pregnant. They graduated high school, they're in college, all of them. My son's in the Army. My daughter, my oldest, is going to be a nurse, and my youngest is going into, like, fitness and stuff, and I couldn't be prouder of them, honestly. It's such a major accomplishment when your kids graduate high school and they don't get arrested or get into drugs or get into trouble or pregnant because
Mhm.
things happen. I mean, I'm proof of that.
Yeah, like you, I have a very open conversation with my kids too,
Right.
especially when their dad and I broke up. They were young, so they probably really don't realize my healing process, and how I dealt with it. And then I just got a divorce a little over a year ago from a husband. They seen that because 'cause they're teenagers and young adults now, and I probably didn't handle it the best way. I went a little wild, and they'd never seen that side of me from when because they were too little, and they're like, "I don't like this side of you, like, what's wrong with you?" But, like you said, after you get out of a relationship like that, it's almost like you feel free, and you can do whatever you
Yeah.
want,
Right.
and that's what you do, is whatever you
Right.
want because nobody's telling you you can't do something.
Right. You're just honestly just trying to survive. I feel like you're
Mhm,
just like in survival mode and something, your emotions are all over the place. It feels literally like a death,
mhm,
worse than a death for me. Like I remember always thinking, man, this would be just so much easier. He would just die or he would have died because
yeah,
it was just so painful. Even though I still to this day, I do understand why he left us and well, me, and why he was having an affair for so long and everything, but it still just destroyed me inside. And because he was my best friend, regardless.
mhm,
And to have to go through life now, not even speaking, having a grandchild, we don't even talk about it's sad. It's just really
yeah.
sad. And I wish it didn't have to be like that.
Yeah, it's really hard when you lose
Yeah,
somebody you were so close to, but you know that they're still right there compared to
right.
if somebody passes away and they're not there no more.
Person that at one point you told everything to,
Mhm.
it's just crazy how it happens.
Yeah, I feel the pain is harder.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest, maybe even one of the biggest reasons I haven't really started dating because my ex-husband, my second ex-husband he was so in love with me. I knew that he was, but for someone that could be so in love with you at one point and then the next minute just completely could care less if you died,
Mhm.
and it's just I can't wrap my mind around that and it's just very scary to me to give someone all of myself again and take that chance of being destroyed and having to heal again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's scary.
I know completely what you mean. It's hard, one, to let your guard down and be
Yes.
vulnerable to somebody, and then to know that there's a chance that person might not be in your life for very long. It's really hard.
Right. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
especially when you've been through so many traumatic relationships. It's very hard.
Right.
When my daughter went off to college last year, that was really hard for me because we were so close all the time, and
Exactly what you mean.
it was the beginning of one day they're gonna have their own lives.
Right.
It's sad that our kids had to see us go through all this, but I also feel that them seeing us go through everything that we have gone through,
Yes,
and they've turned out so good.
I agree.
My kids have turned out pretty good too.
Right. I feel like it's so important that they are seeing that even though we've been at the lowest of the low at one point, you can pull yourself out of it and
Mhm.
do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. My kids are my biggest cheerleaders, and they're just so proud of
Right.
me, and I'm so glad that they are, and sometimes it makes me feel bad because of everything that they had to go through, but then they've seen everything that I've gone through and how far I
Right.
came. So it's just a nice little moment, they see their mom in this rough situation and how hard it was for them to get out of the situation, but then also see where you are now.
Right. Exactly. Everything that you've accomplished, everything you've overcome,
Mhm.
I guarantee that is going to be very helpful for them too.
Yeah, and it also as they get older and they have kids too, I'm hoping that they realize that they're probably gonna make some mistakes and not be perfect.
You grow, you become a better person. If I wouldn't have went through everything that I went through, I would not be who I am today. It's so important to really like yourself. I don't always like myself every single day, but I like myself so much better than I did. I will never again be a person that I cannot stand because I could
Yes.
not stand just even thinking about my past self. It just
Mhm.
disgusts me. I hate it. I don't even know how I was that person, you know?
Yes, I do. I was just talking to my best friend about that the other day because we've been friends since my kids were in preschool. So she's been there through both relationships and how far I've come and where I was. And we need to do a podcast showing from your side of view of what it was like having a friend to go through all this. Now, where am I? Because so many
That's actually a
people
really good idea.
yeah, because some people just leave you and, it's too
Oh,
much for
absolutely.
them and it's too chaotic and they don't wanna deal with the drama,
Yes.
so they just leave you and you end up with nobody and no support because not everybody can handle being in a relationship with somebody friend-wise,
Right.
who is going through all that.
Right. And like just what you do end up putting your friends and your family through when you're in that situation. My whole family has pretty much went through all of these breakups with me. I
Mhm.
mean, it's been interesting, They
Yeah, so
definitely
you've
they're
had continued support from your family.
yes,
That's good.
absolutely, which made such a difference, which is why I feel like I am the way that I am with my kids now and my grandson. That's how my parents were, at least my mom. And we were just so close. She was always there. And it helped so much. I would probably be dead, honestly, if it was not for my mom. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good that you had the family support. When
Yeah.
I was little, I was taken away from my mom and I was placed in my aunt and uncle's. I think I was like 5th grade, and they treated me how a real family, I would say, would treat a
Right.
child. They rewarded me when I did good in school. I had sleepovers with all my friends. We went out and did family activities. It was really peaceful time of my life. And I remember that, and I always told myself, that's how I'm going to be with my kids. And sometimes I wonder if I would have never been taken away and placed with them. I always tell people I'd probably be dead in an alley somewhere, but I don't
I know
know, it's
exactly
just
what you mean.
I feel even though life can be hard, that, uh, just don't ever regret how things are. Just take that as all those things in life has made you who you are now.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah,
truly do believe that everything does happen for a reason. Whatever happens gets us to where God is wanting us or, whatever, where we're supposed to be.
there's always a purpose.
Right.
So you said that your ex was religious and you guys went to church, did you continue your faith after you guys broke up? Like, did it change in
Um,
ways?
Off and on wasn't well, I didn't like how controlling the Pentecostal church was, so I feel like I did rebel against it a bit, but it just didn't feel right. It felt like I was doing all these things for them, but not actually for God, you know?
Yeah.
But I ended up getting away from God for a while because my second husband was not religious at all. And I just ended up getting away from it. And I truly had come back to it, even though I look at it all completely different now. I'll always have God. But I ended up getting back closer with God once my ex husband left uh, this last time in like, I don't know, I think it was 2018 when I really started getting close with God again, which helped a lot.
Mhm.
A reminder for women going through this, if you're in a relationship right now that is toxic or violent, just remember that you can do this, you can get out of it. I never thought that I could ever. I never thought I'd survive all of it, but I did it. And the, the self confidence that you gain and the peace is just so worth it, when you leave a situation like that and really like keep yourself accountable and just really work on healing and take time to heal. Don't just jump right into another relationship because I promise that it's probably not going to be the best relationship if that's what you do, because it
Mhm.
normally isn't.
Yeah, you go back to
Everybody should take some time
familiarity.
to heal. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Also wanna point out too, if you're not working, because I know a lot of women fall into the relationship where they're not working and they don't have any money, and don't let that stop you from getting out of a relationship because there's so many resources out there that will help you. There's domestic violence, shelters,
Right.
but reach out to those who are close to you. I know a lot of people are alienated, but you'd be surprised who's still there if you say you need help.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because after when I left their dad, I hadn't worked in 5 years. I was in a bad car accident. I couldn't even
And
get a job.
right.
Had not worked, had no money. I don't even know if I even had a vehicle. I can't even remember. But when I broke it off with him, I had like all the lawyer papers. Definitely have a plan. I always tell people, have
Yes.
a plan. Don't say anything to the person until you have a plan on what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And if you're not safe, just leave. But I had a plan. I had, court papers all set up and everything and with the kids and everything, and I talked to him about it. Um, and then afterwards, we both decided, yes, this isn't working. And we had talked to our landlord, and my landlord had actually let me stay there for free. And then I got a job just down the road, and he helped me get into college and, just slowly getting my life worked out. But if he
Yes.
wouldn't have done that for me, if we hadn't sat down and discussed it with him, who knows? But you just never know. I didn't know. I didn't know if I
Right.
was gonna have a place to live. I didn't know if I was
Right.
gonna get kicked out, you know? I didn't know that he was a family friend, but that didn't mean anything.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It always
definite
works out. I think if you're in that situation and it is so violent,
yeah.
you should just leave. Of course, if you can have a plan, even better. For a month or
Mhm.
so, I, I'd be putting money away somehow, some way, something
Yeah, and
to get
that's what I
out.
did with
Right.
my marriage. I knew that he wanted out when he drained all of our accounts, and he
Right.
drained our savings account, and he drained the checking account. And then he had another job and he would take that money and put it wherever he was putting it. So the only money that we had was the money that we paid bills and food. So I mean, at least we had that. That was taken care of. And I wasn't working for like a short period of time, and I went back and I got a job and I started putting all the money into another account. And I can remember one day I came home and he's like, "Are you getting paid?" "No, I'm working for free." And he's like, "Well, I don't understand. No money's going in the account." And I said, "No, it's not. It's going in my account. You have your money that you're not putting in our account. I'm not going to put my money in our account." And so
Right.
I did that. I mean, I wasn't budging on that, and you have to set boundaries. And I didn't wasn't putting my money into our account because it kept getting drained. I worked so hard for my own money, and then I was hearing that I couldn't get anything for the kids because they weren't his kids, and I was just like, "I'm not dealing with that anymore." So, I had a good chunk of money saved up before I had told him that I had
Yes, you
filed for
definitely did it
divorce.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so but I learned that from my first one because I had tried leaving my kids' dad a couple of times. We actually had a house together, and we decided we were gonna split, and we worked out the whole kid situation, but I knew I couldn't afford everything on my own, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. But then there was a couple of guys that were talking to me, and he didn't like it, so he just moved back in. Couldn't say no, because it was his house too, so we just got back together. But I just fully couldn't leave until I had a plan. So I'm, like, firm, and I always tell people, I'm like, "Go to a lawyer and get everything written up. Don't believe what the other person's gonna say that they will work on." I always tell people, especially if you have kids, go through the court system. So
gotcha.
that's my advice on kids and leaving relationships. But yeah, definitely have a plan, and if it's a violent situation, make sure you have a friend. It was discussed on another podcast, the safe words. You have a safe word with that friend and they know how serious it is. I'd rather not they need to come get you right now or you make a plan on leaving. So that was really good.
That is really good. It's a good
Yeah.
idea.
So yeah, definitely have a plan and just be brave. It's gonna work out. It's not gonna
It
be easy.
absolutely is gonna work out. No,
Yeah.
absolutely not, and for a while, it might be really hard, but
Mhm.
it's gonna get better if you actually take the time and do the healing and stay accountable and because all that is important.
And life comes in seasons, and you have to remember that.
Yes,
There's always seasons in life. It can be easy for a little while, and then something might happen. It's gonna be a little bit harder,
right,
but that's life. Whether or not you're in a relationship with
exactly,
somebody or not. So, um,
absolutely,
just don't be scared because you don't know the unknown, because you never know what the unknown is gonna be ever in life. And that was my thing, was kept me there so long because I was scared. I didn't
I
know
know.
if my
It's
kids
the
were gonna
flip
get
side.
taken away. With, the kids' dad, my biggest thing was I didn't work.
Right,
So, I had heard, some of the things people would say, and this will come from family too, and him. "Oh, you can't ever don't ever think about leaving me because I'll take your kids and you won't have them." That's a lie. I have come to the realization when guys say that to you, they're saying that to you because they think that they're gonna lose their kids, and they use that as control and manipulation over you for you to stay.
absolutely, and for someone to even say that is just that's just so abusive in itself, you know?
Mhm. It is.
It's terrible.
And then also
And
when
the
they s
sad thing too, like, what you end up putting the kids through, like, when you're going through it, like, both of us or
Mhm.
all of us, we all, made so many mistakes, and our
Yeah.
children really, truly are the ones that had to pay the most, and it's just really sad. It
Mhm.
really is very sad.
Yeah. It's hard. No matter which way you go. It's gonna be difficult. Staying there and let the kids grow up and continue
Yeah.
seeing what they're seeing and or going and splitting up and they have a whole new season.
Yes,
But
and just the back and forth, the alienation that takes place, which, we both were guilty, I believe, because I have to take accountability for my own part. I
mhm,
probably talked bad about him at some points in front of the children. I would like to say that I probably didn't do that, but being completely honest in the heat of the moment when it was so bad at some points, we
mhm,
probably both did that. And it's just terrible what you end up putting your kids through. Try to get along as best you can because regardless if you don't like that person or not, that is your child's parent. That is half of your
yeah,
child. You know what I mean?
mhm. Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, "Don't keep your kids from the other
Right.
parent unless they're
Absolutely.
really physically
Like if
abusive to
something,
them,
right.
don't keep them from
Obviously,
them
yeah,
because that's their parent. That's gonna harm them more than
exactly.
you keeping them from them."
No, exactly. Like, even when my oldest daughter's father, he was which maybe she probably shouldn't have really been around him, but his parents were always around also, so I trusted it, and I never kept her from him because it just felt wrong,
Mhm.
it just I mean, I would never let her go with him when he's high on drugs or whatever, but
Right.
I didn't like to keep the kids or keep her from him at all.
Yeah, I always gave the kids the option. Do you wanna go or do you
Right.
not? I also believe that that's important. I never made them do anything.
Right.
The only time I would say you can't go is if he didn't have a place to live,
Right.
just staying with friends or something. Who are these friends? What do they do? I still want to know that they're gonna be safe when they're not with me because that's the hardest part I think people don't talk about
I know.
is when your children go with the other parent and, you don't know what the environment is going to be like around them. And I
Absolutely.
set firm boundaries with that right from the get-go and told him that if he didn't have a place to live, they weren't going. If he was gonna be partying, they're not gonna go. If you're just gonna drop them off with somebody else because you don't want them, they're not gonna go, like, they can just stay with me. I mean, it wasn't like control factors, I wanted my kids safe, and I made that
Right.
very clear, but that was also something that we had always talked about in our relationship, so he knew where my standards were the entire time, but, I always gave my kids the choice on whether or not they wanted to go, and I think that's helped now that they're older. I think they understand why sometimes the periods in their life they didn't go see him, but, I mean, I'm not perfect either and did my best, so and you just have to
Right.
give yourself grace and everybody's
Literally.
learning.
I just started out so young. We had so many kids by the time we were 23 years
Mhm.
old. It was a lot.
Yeah,
It's
me
hard
too.
being a parent, very much so, especially when you're in those type of relationships.
Yeah, sometimes I get sad that I couldn't really enjoy my kids when they were babies,
Right.
and I went through postpartum depression so bad,
Me
especially
too.
with my oldest one, and that wasn't talked about either when I was having
No.
babies. So
Same, not at all. Actually went into a psych hospital when my youngest was like 2 weeks old, but no one even mentioned that it was postpartum.
mhm,
That was not one of my diagnoses. No, not even the doctors at the hospital talked about it, which I look back now and think, well,
yeah.
of course that's what it was, but they didn't even talk about it.
Yeah,
It
and then
was
you throw that
pretty
on top of a already,
right,
abusive relation that's one thing I do have to say about the kids' dad. He was really great when I had my oldest, and he would drag me out of bed because I would just sit there and cry. But her and I didn't bond either because I almost died when I had her, so I had to have, I think, 4 pints of blood, so I wasn't able to really hold her, and I was in the hospital forever, and so I was just going through it, but I didn't wanna get out of bed, and I always thought that she was crying in the middle of the night, and every single time she made noises, so when I'd get her up to feed her, she wouldn't eat because she wasn't awake. I didn't realize that babies make noises in their sleep, so I had to put her
right.
in another room when she was a baby, so I didn't get woken up by her because 'cause I'm such a light sleeper, and that helped a lot, but he was really good through the whole thing. So, I mean, there was good things that,
Same,
he
that's
was
what I feel like
yeah.
with my ex-husband too, he there were so my second one, there were so many times that he was just truly, amazing,
Mhm.
100% and helped me so much.
Yeah, and those periods, though, make you forget all
Yeah,
of the other stuff, and that's why a lot of people stay, and I don't think people understand that.
right. That is definitely I still even struggle with that to this day, just when I think of, like, a good memory
Mhm.
in my head, and it's just it takes me back, and I have to check myself because in my past, that was one of my biggest problems. I just lived in fantasy. I did not live in reality at all,
Yeah.
and so I have to really now be mindful, like, that I'm not doing that.
Yeah, but when I know with me growing up in just a chaotic life, that's what got me through was where I wanted myself to be in the future. And I had this
You're right,
whole entire life all painted and that's what I worked toward every
right,
single day was to get that life. And when that was taken
right,
from me when I was in my car accident, is why I didn't work for like 5 years. And I fell into a major depression because that's when actual life hit me and I
right,
seen how bad it was, and it was almost that I couldn't handle it because I always just pushed forward to where I wanted my life to be.
right, and I think that's why I lived in a fantasy so much because facing the reality I was actually living was just so painful,
Mhm.
so I just lied to myself, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. It's pretty amazing what our minds will do to help us survive certain situations. Yeah.
definitely.
Pretty fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here today, Jamie. It was really nice talking with you.
Definitely.
Jamie's story is raw, honest, and full of hope, a reminder that healing is possible and peace is something we can all find when we give ourselves permission to truly heal. If her story resonated with you, remember you are not alone and it's never too late to begin your own healing journey. If today's episode spoke to your heart, don't forget to follow the podcast as you never miss a new episode of healing and hope. Share this episode with someone who needs a reminder that they're not alone because you never know whose life it might touch. And if you're ready to take the next step in your own healing journey, I invite you to check out my free quiz to see if you might be in a toxic relationship. It's a powerful first step toward clarity and freedom. You can schedule a free clarity call with me if you're ready to break chains, release bondages, overcome limited beliefs, and build confidence and self worth. And don't forget to grab a copy of my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my own story of surviving domestic abuse, finding healing, and learning to trust God through it all. And thank you for tuning in to Silent No Longer. Until next time, keep working toward your purpose.